Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're zoning in on Hyderabad, India. It's just buzzing, isn't it? A real hotspot for tech.
Absolutely. E-commerce, SaaS platforms,
Yeah.
software as a service, yeah. Fintech startups. It's all happening there. A proper digital boom.
Incredible opportunities for sure. But that kind of rapid growth,
Yeah,
it comes with challenges,
it
Rajiv.
really does. And one big one often kind of pushed aside is the legal side. You need solid rules for this digital gold rush.
And that's where the IT Act comes in, the Information Technology Act 2000.
Precisely. That's the cornerstone, the bedrock of India's cyber law. Without it, things would be chaotic.
So our mission today for you listening is to cut through all that dense legal stuff. We want to give you the essential takeaways, the nuggets of knowledge you actually need.
Yeah, basically a shortcut. What do online businesses, especially those in Hyderabad, really need to do? How do you stay compliant, keep things secure, and actually succeed?
Okay, so by the end of this, you should know what the IT Act is, why you absolutely can't ignore it.
hmm We'll look at the crucial bits, see how it plays out in the real world, common flip-ups.
And practical steps you can take. Actionable stuff.
Exactly.
All right, let's kick things off then. For anyone maybe new to this, what is the IT Act, fundamentally?
Well, back in 2000, its main job was pretty groundbreaking. It gave legal recognition to things like emails, online transactions, digital signatures, stuff we take for granted now.
So it made digital official,
Not
legally speaking.
sort of, yeah. But it also defined cybercrimes, data breaches, and set out the punishments. So it enabled digital business, but also set the rules of engagement.
Okay, so two sides of the coin, enabling and protecting.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Key goals were, legal status for e-records, defining offenses, rules for the bodies that issue digital certificates,
Yeah.
and this big framework for data privacy and cybersecurity.
Right. And obviously the digital world hasn't stood still since 2000. It moved incredibly fast. Has the act kept up? Any major updates?
Oh, definitely. It has to evolve. The big one was the 2008 amendment. That brought in things like cyber terrorism, phishing, identity theft stuff that was becoming a much bigger problem.
Okay, reflecting the changing threats.
Exactly. And then more recently, the 2021 IT rules put more pressure on platforms. Things like stricter due diligence, mandatory grievance officers, more transparency needed,
So it's constantly being updated, which makes staying on top of it crucial, I guess.
especially in a place like Hyderabad. It never stops moving. You can't afford to lag behind on compliance.
Which brings us right to it. Why Hyderabad specifically? Why is this act so critical there, maybe more so than elsewhere?
Well, because it is such a major tech hub, it means it's under a brighter spotlight. Regulators are watching closely. Plus, the competition is fierce. Compliance isn't just avoiding fines. It's actually part of staying competitive.
Okay, so let's talk about avoiding trouble. What actually happens if a business, say, based in Hyderabad, gets this wrong? What are the real risks?
The risks are serious. We're talking major legal heat and financial pain. If you have a data breach, Section 43A allows for penalties up to 5 crore rupees. That's significant.
Oh, 5 crore, that's huge.
And it's not just fines. You could face FIR's first information reports, which means criminal investigations kick off. Actual criminal liability under Section 66, 67.
So jail time is possible.
It is, depending on the offense. And in really bad cases, if you keep ignoring the rules, especially the intermediary guidelines from 2021, your whole platform could get taken down.
Okay, that sounds like a potential business killer. Let's flip it then. What's the upside? Beyond just dodging those massive penalties, why should a business actively want to nail this compliance thing?
This is where it gets interesting. It stops being a chore and becomes like a strategic advantage.
How so?
Because good compliance builds trust. Simple as that. Customers trust you more with their data. Investors see you as less risky, more professional, more sustainable.
Right, it signals you're serious.
Totally. It makes you stand out. Think about it in a crowded market, showing you protect user data. That's a big plus. It attracts the right kind of attention.
Is there an example of this? Maybe from Hyderabad.
Yeah, actually, there was a fintech firm there back in 2022. They got into a bit of hot water over data handling, faced a lot of scrutiny,
Okay.
but they really doubled down, got their house in order, fully complied with the IT Act. And guess what? Investor confidence shot back up, and they actually won new business because of it. It showed they were reliable.
That really illustrates the point, doesn't it? Compliance isn't just defense, it can be offense too.
Exactly. It's a business enabler.
Okay, let's dig into the act itself then. What are the absolute must-know sections for any online business?
Right. Section 43A is probably number one. That's the data protection part. It talks about needing reasonable security practices.
Reasonable. That sounds a bit vague. What does it mean in practice?
Well, that's the interesting part. It's not a fixed list. It means regulators expect you to keep up, to assess risks constantly, upgrade your security. It's not a one-and-done thing. It's ongoing vigilance.
Okay, so it's a dynamic standard. What else?
Section 66 deals specifically with hacking unauthorized access. Pretty clear-cut. Then Section 79 is vital for intermediaries. Think e-commerce sites, social media.
Right, the platforms themselves.
Yeah. It offers them a safe harbor, meaning they aren't liable for user content if they practice due diligence. That's the key condition.
Due diligence, like content moderation, takedown notices, that sort of thing.
That's part of it, yes.
Yeah.
And finally, Section 10A is fundamental, and it just confirms that electronic contracts are legally valid, which, underpins almost all online business.
Makes sense. So how do the big players, like, say, Amazon India or Flipkart, actually implement these rules day to day? What does it look like on the ground?
They have dedicated teams. For starters, they appoint specific compliance officers whose job it is to monitor this stuff.
Oh.
They have very clear, easily findable privacy policies, return policies, terms of service. And critically, they use government-approved digital signatures and certificates for secure transactions, verifying identity. It's baked into how they operate.
Right. It's systematic, not an afterthought.
Definitely not.
Now let's talk about mistakes. What are some common ways businesses, maybe even unintentionally, fall short of the IT Act requirements, things people overlook?
Oh, there are a few common ones. Sometimes it's just growing fast and not keeping up. A big one is failing to appoint a grievance redressal officer. Especially if you're an intermediary with a fair number of users, that's mandatory now.
The 2021 rules again?
Exactly. Another classic is collecting personal data without getting proper explicit consent. You need that clear opt-in.
Not just assuming consent or using pre-check boxes.
No, definitely not. That won't fly. Also, using digital signatures that aren't from a licensed authority, those aren't legally valid. And quite often, just having missing or really outdated privacy policies, they need to reflect what you actually do with data now.
Those sound like traps you could easily fall into if you're not careful. So, for listeners hearing this, what are the quick fixes? How do you sort these specific issues out?
Okay, for the grievance officer, simple. Appoint someone. Formally. Make their contact details public on your site.
Right.
For data collection, always use clear consent mechanisms, check boxes that users actively tick. Explain what you're collecting and why before they give consent.
Transparency.
Yes. Digital signatures. Only use ones from licensed certifying authorities in India. Make sure they're registered. And finally, review your legal docs, terms of use, privacy policy. Make sure they're up to date, accurate, and easy for users to find. Put links in your footer.
Okay, that's clear. Let's make it even more practical. Imagine I'm running an online business in Hyderabad. What's my basic compliance checklist, step by step?
Good question. Step 1. Develop a solid data protection policy. Make sure it aligns with Section 43A, those reasonable security practices.
Okay.
Step 2. Use certified digital signatures. Get them from licensed providers like Imutra or CFI.
Got it.
Step 3. Publish clear, comprehensive privacy policies. Explain data usage, user rights. Step 4. Schedule regular cyber audits. Get professionals to check for weaknesses. Don't wait for a breach.
Proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. Step 5. Appoint that compliance officer, someone responsible for handling regulations, user complaints.
Okay.
And Step 6. Maintain secure data logs. Keep records as per government guidelines. You need that audit trail if something goes wrong.
That's a really solid checklist. Any pro tips? Anything extra businesses can do to really show they're serious?
Yeah, definitely. A great way to go above and beyond is to benchmark against international standards. Specifically, ISO IEC 27001.
ISO 27001, what's that?
It's the global gold standard for information security management. Getting certified or even just lining your practices with it shows a really serious commitment to data protection. It signals maturity to partners, investors, everyone.
Okay, that's a good benchmark. Now, all this info is great, but what if someone feels overwhelmed? Where can businesses in Hyderabad actually go for help?
Hyderabad's actually got a good ecosystem for this. T-Hub is a great resource, the big startup incubator. They often have legal mentors and resources.
Right, T-Hub.
Then there's DSIC, the Telangana State Innovation Cell. They sometimes run workshops or offer advice on compliance. For reporting actual cybercrime, you've got the Hyderabad Cybercrime Police Station.
Okay.
Nationally, there's CERT-In, the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. They issue alerts and guidance on cybersecurity threats.
Certain, right.
And, of course, there are specialized law firms,
Hmm.
firms like Nishith Desai Associates or Fox Mandel. They have lawyers who focus specifically on cyber law and digital compliance. They can give tailored advice.
That's a good range of options, from government bodies to private experts. Let's tackle a couple of quick questions people often ask before we wrap up. Does this IT Act apply even if I have a tiny online business, or is it just for the big fish?
That's a really common question. The answer is yes, it applies to everyone. If you collect any user data or run any kind of digital platform, no matter how small, you need to comply. Size doesn't exempt you.
Okay, good to know. Compliance for all. And what about penalties? We mentioned 5 crore, but is that the max? What's the typical range?
It varies a lot depending on the violation. Fines can indeed go up to 5 crore rupees for certain data breaches under 43A. Other sections might have different penalties. And like we said, for serious offenses, imprisonment is also on the table. It's definitely not something to ignore.
Right. So, pulling this all together then, the main takeaway here seems pretty stark. If you're doing business online in India, especially in a hub like Hyderabad, cyber law compliance specifically, the IT Act isn't optional. It's not just legalese.
Not at all. It's the fundamental rulebook for how you operate digitally. It defines how you must work to be lawful.
And it's not just about avoiding the stick, the penalties. It's also about the carrot, right? Building the business.
Absolutely. It's strategic. It protects your business, yes. But it also builds that crucial trust with customers, with investors. It helps you grow sustainably in this incredibly fast-paced digital world.
Following these legal steps directly translates to real business advantages. Confidence, competitiveness. That's the bottom line.
So if you're listening and feeling unsure about where you stand on compliance, the clear advice is talk to an expert. Get professional cyber law advice.
Definitely. It's an investment in your business's future.
It really boils down to stay secure, stay compliant, stay ahead.
Well put. And maybe just one final thought to leave people with. As tech like AI and blockchain becomes more widespread, how do you think the basic ideas in the IT Act, data protection, intermediary liability consent might need to adapt? And what does that mean for you personally and the companies you deal with online every day? Something to think about.